Coming up on today's episode.
The first scene of this movie pulled me in like the gravity of a black hole.
If you were in a nuclear fallout bunker and you only were able to save one Blu-ray,
Oh, Christ.
what movie is that?
There's something happened to me when I was 12 years old that I had forgotten about. Oh, man, I hadn't thought about this in so many years.
Wow,
I
okay.
just like even telling you this right now.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Hello out there and welcome to episode 51 of Beyond the Frame. This articulate young man right next to me there that I was just pointing out is Ryan. Ryan,
Wow.
what's your jam? Tell us a little something about you.
My jam?
Yeah.
My jam right now is the new season of Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
Oh,
because
really?
Mr. Dan Trachtenberg has directed an episode of Black Mirror. I'm a writer-director here with my pal, my acting friend, Joe Parente.
And we're all with your cat.
And we're with the cat. Yeah, you probably can't hear it, but she is howling away.
And as Ryan said, yes, it's true. I am Joe Parente. And Ryan and I met in acting class. I decided to dive into that venture when most people my age are considering a life of leisure. I never said I was that bright.
I like that about you, Joe. You go against the grain. That's what
true.
I like about
Give
you.
me grain.
Yeah.
I go the other way. But I also happen to love shows and great TV shows and movies. And that's one of the ways that Ryan and I connected. And so, why are we here? Well, that's a great question. Ryan and I are sitting on the couch again today to discuss the 2016 psychological horror/thriller 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm-hmm.
It stars John Goodman, who I can't say enough good about.
Ooh,
Mary
he's
Elizabeth
great.
Winstead, so good. And John Gallagher Jr. Besides the roles of driver, woman, and voice on the radio, I've pretty much named everyone who is on the docket there.
And this continues our May
Yes.
sequence of doing films that are set in one location.
Right.
So the bulk of this movie, almost the entirety of it, takes place
Correct.
in an underground bunker.
Correct. Exactly. So, and this was also the directorial debut for Dan Trachtenberg, which is a really impressive achievement.
Before we continue, I got to give a little bit of praise here to Mr. Dan Trachtenberg.
Oh, give praise. Heap it.
Because it's funny, I used to play a series of video games called Portal.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of
Made by Valve. And the Portal, Dan Trachtenberg made a short film that became very popular. And that's how he got the job for 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Wow.
Also, another fun fact, somebody's got a writing cred on this film. A very famous director has a writing credit on the screenplay for this movie. Can you guess who that guy is?
I should know that. I'm feeling a little embarrassed that I don't.
Damien Chazelle.
Oh, right. I saw that.
Yeah, which
Didn't stick in my head.
I
but
didn't
yes.
know that until I watched it the other night. I looked up the IMDb and I was like, what the hell? I never knew that Damien was involved, but
He was involved with creating the story, I believe. Yeah.
and did a good job. I liked it.
Very
I
good
enjoyed
job.
the story.
Very good job.
But let's talk more about it. Let's dive in, shall we?
Yeah, and before we even do that, be sure to give us a like and subscribe, because it gives us, something to tell our mothers, to make them worry less about us.
Yeah. Right.
So we also welcome your comments because don't we all just want to be heard sometimes, Ryan?
Agreed.
So help us help you in that sense.
I like that sentiment.
So yeah, let's jump in. So I gotta say, giving a brief review of this movie, which I'm about to do, without spoilers, is no layup whatsoever. It's not going to be easy to not spill some beans. In talking about this movie and just giving a brief review, Ryan, it's going to be nearly impossible to not give a few spoilers.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
So
it's tough. Yeah.
So even though we try to do this initial part of our show as a review and not give spoilers, I'm just going to give a warning here that there are going to be spoilers ahead. And look, it's a 9-year-old movie. Get out there and see it, okay?
Yeah. That's a fair point.
So yeah, and I don't want to spoil it for people, but I just got to give that warning. So you'll thank me if you want to save everything for the future. And
Go
for
watch
seeing
the
it.
movie and then come back and see.
Exactly. So, Ryan, I got to say, the first scene of this movie pulled me in like the gravity of a black hole.
Ooh.
I loved it. The car crash and the title sequence was brilliant.
Yes, I love that about this movie. I hadn't seen it since it came out, and then when I watched it, I think it was last night, I remembered as soon as it like, and you like hard cut to the title sequence, I was like, oh yeah.
And I read that, and I don't know if this is true, but I read that was J.J. Abrams' idea. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, worth noting that this is produced by Bad Robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is J.J. Abrams' production.
So the contrast right there of the frenetic motion and with what was to come, which was nearly, no motion at all. I just loved the contrast.
What did you feel about that opening sequence where we have no dialogue, we have no sound design?
I loved it.
Just have the score.
It completely worked for me.
Okay.
I didn't think it was necessary to have any dialogue. I thought the story was set up really well.
Mm-hmm.
And look, this is a horror thriller, right? And there are going to be a lot of mysteries anyway. And a lot of things that are difficult to answer.
Sure.
And open-ended, kind of things.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. Also, how many movies open up with no dialogue for several minutes?
Yeah, that's true. It was very original.
Yeah. So I gave it points for all of that.
Yeah.
And it still told the story.
Totally. It set up everything that we needed to know about this character and what she was going through.
Exactly. So I love how it opened like that. And quite frankly, my love did not stop there.
Ooh, okay.
Michelle, played with fantastic nuance and believability by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, wakes up from said car crash that Ryan and I were referring to on a bed in a windowless room. And she's got blood on her head. She's got an IV in her arm.
And she's chained to a pipe on the wall.
Yes, and it takes her a moment to realize that she's in a strange place and that she's handcuffed by means of a leg brace to a metal pipe on the wall, as Ryan was saying. So she's not going anywhere.
It's not a place you want to wake up, or in a condition that you want to wake up in.
No, it is not a pleasant awakening. So from what little we've seen, we can glean that someone pulled her out of the wreckage, clearly.
Yeah.
And is taking care of her.
Yeah, the IV is
the
confusing.
IV was probably done with love, but the whole handcuffing, to a pipe.
Her leg is in a brace.
Yeah, her
so
leg's in a brace. So
up.
clearly she probably had sustained a leg injury, and this person is trying to help her heal, you think.
Right.
Well, at least they're trying to keep her alive.
Sure.
If not make her, super healthy. So we realize, along with Michelle, that she's in a pickle. So enter Howard, played with absolute perfection, in my humble opinion, by John Goodman.
I could watch John Goodman look at paint dry. He's good at anything he's ever done.
I think there's a video of that on YouTube.
Yeah. I got to check that one out.
This is the same John Goodman who starred in widely varying roles, from Raising Arizona, a Coen Brothers classic, to me. Have you seen that?
I've never seen Raising Arizona.
I used to, when I was an undergrad, approximately 1,200 years ago, I used to kind of gauge people socially by how they felt about Raising Arizona. And if people were like, I hate that movie, I'd think, next. Like, I don't need to know
friends with you.
I don't need to know you. I was not a judgy guy, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I was seriously judgy. And when people were like, I love Raising Arizona, I felt like they were my kindred. These are my people. It's slapstick.
Is that one of their earlier ones?
Oh, yeah. This is 87.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. I've heard good things about
Goodman,
it.
Yeah, 87. John Goodman is just...
If it's got John Goodman in it.
Freaking hilarious.
I'll watch it.
So, but he was fantastic in that. He's fantastic in Argo, the series Community. He made some appearances. By the way, Community is another classic. If you haven't seen... Have you seen Community?
Is that the TV show? Is that the one with Donald Glover?
Yeah.
I've seen an episode or two.
You need to see more. It's important for your development as a human being.
I'm just not a sitcom guy.
Yeah, it's just so well done, though. To watch these 5-6 people riff off each other, it's pretty remarkable.
Okay.
And talk about something that takes place virtually in one setting, because a lot of it is just sitting around a table.
Yeah, it's not like study hall or whatever, right?
And it's freaking hilarious.
Okay.
But also, of course, John Goodman and The Big Lebowski. I mean, come on, this guy can do anything.
Oh man, I always talk about one of one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in cinema is when he goes out and bashes that kid's car.
In the bowling alley parking lot, you mean? Or
No,
Is that-
when they're going to like find the person who has the
oh, right. Sorry.
and they're at the kid's house.
Yeah.
And he just grabs the bat and goes outside and just destroys his car.
Yeah, but that's could anyone else do that and make it funny? Probably. But there's something about John Goodman has a scene in going back to Raising Arizona of him escaping from prison and coming out of the ground, and I just screamed laughing. And I don't know how I'd see that today, but it was so ridiculous to watch this man just crawling up out of the mud.
Were you screaming, laughing, watching this?
Watching this?
Yeah.
No. No.
It was a different emotion.
No, but that's where John Goodman is so just studying his face and the subtlety, and you never could relax with this guy.
I know.
In this
He always
role.
kept you on your toes. You could never read. You could never get a read on him.
You couldn't get a read on him, and
that's hard to do.
You learned that he'd been in the Navy. It was clear he was intelligent. He just had approximately 40 screws loose in his
As
head.
an actor, I imagine that must be tough to hide your cards well. Like, you've read the script, you know the whole entirety of the character and where it's going to end up and what his true intentions are, but you've got to hide that from the audience. And I imagine that's like a difficult thing to do.
I actually, in one of the fun facts that I'm going to tell later about this movie, it's addressing exactly that.
Okay, great. We got a good setup.
Because, that was an excellent.
You got to stick around for the payoff.
An excellent inadvertent setup. So anyway, is he a good guy in this? Is he a creep? Is he lying or telling the truth? Well, yes, is the answer
to all of those things.
Yeah. and he'll take you for a ride with just his voice tone and expressions. This is an actor.
Yeah, 100%.
Just his voice tone. So many times I thought his face gave away nothing, but his voice would give away a little something.
And then you just wanted more, and you can't figure him out, and you just, it just kept you interested. It kept you on your toes.
And at times he could almost be on the verge of charming. And that's John Goodman, because I think the guy oozes charm, and he just can't hold it back.
When I first watched it, there's plenty of times watching the movie where I'm like, I think this guy might be like a decent guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's all right. And then like the next scene, I'm like,
oh,
maybe not.
That is exactly right.
Maybe not.
It's an impressive ride
it is.
that it takes us on.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that, Michelle is in Howard's doomsday bunker.
Mm-hmm.
That's where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard tells her that there's been an attack. Russians, Chinese, Martians, it's really hard to say.
Yeah.
But there's been an attack, and the air outside isn't breathable. So we just need to stick it out down here for, I don't know, a year or two.
Yeah, imagine we learn that when you wake up.
And by the way, dinner's on, so come on up when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and he gives her crutches, literally, like dinner's about ready. Here are the crutches. Come on up and
You're gonna
eat.
want to get used to using these.
Yeah, exactly. So then it turns out, much to my personal relief, that they're not alone. Emmett, the local contractor played by John Gallagher Jr., is also injured and in the bunker for the long run. He seems to be non-creepy, but we, and by we I mean Michelle and I, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's creepy or not. So we quickly learn that Emmett injured his arm in his effort to get down into the bunker with Howard because there had been a quote-unquote flash-like out of the Bible.
Yeah.
And it freaked him out, and he'd been, as a local kid, he'd been observing Howard making this bunker for years.
So he's like, that's where I'm
So
going.
that's where I'm going.
Sure.
And who knows how he broke his arm, maybe fall. Yeah, they never
Other people
explain
have
that.
similar ideas too, because
They
we see,
do.
later
They
somebody
do,
else
and
tries to come in.
They do. Others do try to get
Howard
in.
was ahead of the curve,
Yeah, exactly.
if you'll say.
So coming back to that Bible-like flash,
Mm-hmm.
this is where, and these movies are intended to drive you nuts with incomplete information.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, I saw a flash out of the Bible and I jammed here, I'd have 1,000 follow-up questions for that flash.
Oh, sure.
It wouldn't just be, it would be like, Tell me more. Tell me a lot more. Tell me so much more.
Yeah.
Were other people scrambling? Was there like, when you see films of like, when they did atomic, testing in the South Pacific, and you watch there's like a pulse that goes out with any kind of large explosion. And when that pulse hits, everything gets blown away. I'd ask so many, but no, Michelle didn't ask a single follow-up question. She was not so inclined. So the mystery continues. So we, the audience, are filled with so many questions. We get answers, but more questions arise.
Yeah.
And do we believe Howard? Yes. No. Shit. Do we believe Emmett? Good question. This movie does an excellent.
No.
Exactly. Exactly. This movie does an awesome job of keeping you wondering.
Yeah, yeah.
And its pacing is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps things moving despite the single location setting, which Ryan referred to earlier. Mm-hmm. And we see how these characters handle stress, ambiguity, self-preservation. In an extreme circumstance.
Yeah, 100%.
And yet sometimes this setting, the bunker actually feels kind of cozy.
It does. I mean, we see that they're playing, board games.
Yeah.
They're having meals together.
Yeah, and you're giving
listening to music.
That's right. And he's been preparing for years and years and years. So it's
They've
like
got everything they need.
Air filtration, tons of food, washer, dryer, hot water.
Yeah.
A jukebox.
Yeah.
So hey,
movies
you're
like
thinking,
Cannibal Airlines.
Oh my God! With no internet, that would be kind of brutal because your movies would be limited to what you've got. Right?
Yeah, you're
there,
like, well, we got to watch this for the 12th time.
right? And your VHS breaks down.
If you were in a nuclear fallout bunker,
okay,
and you only were able to save one Blu-ray,
oh Christ,
what movie is that?
Oh,
one,
dude. Do you have one in mind? Do you ask that question knowing what yours is?
Like in my brain, I'm trying to think about what I would need most, and it would probably be comic relief if I'm in an underground bunker and I don't see the sun.
But could you watch something about Mary, 43,000 times?
No, because I've never seen that movie.
You need
so that wouldn't be the one that I would
need to
choose.
see that.
But if it may be like a super bad.
Super bad.
There's a lot of rewatchability with that. I've seen that movie probably 10 times.
And then
I think I could go back to it again.
Watching it stoned would probably be would probably be appropriate.
I don't know. You might be messing with the air filtration down there. True. Ripping it.
Oh, edibles, man.
There you go.
But I cannot answer that question. That's a great question. It's like, you're on a desert island and you only get one,
TV show.
one album.
TV show.
Oh, you do have the answer for that because your eyes just lit up. So what's your show?
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
Maybe Breaking Bad.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
In terms of rewatchability. Again, I'm thinking of rewatchability. I've seen that show 5, 6, 7 times.
I also, and you still have to I think you should get through Better Call Saul because Better Call Saul has a remarkable payoff. You'd be surprised. It's so incredible. I know. You got to get through that first season.
The problem is that it's like a broken record, man. Every time I talk to a friend of mine, they're like, oh, you got to watch whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get around. And then I talk to you gotta watch. And then I'm like, okay, yeah. It's like I have about 12 shows that I've been told, like, you gotta watch it, watch it. Somebody just texted me today about a show, and I'm
but let me make it easy for you. You don't have to watch the other ones.
Yeah, just Better Call Saul.
Exactly. Okay. You're welcome. And that goes for all y'all listening or watching us. Better Call Saul. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm curious. Leave a comment or
it's amazing.
What would you choose? What show? What movie would you choose? Leave us a comment.
Yeah,
let's hear what people are thinking.
I would love to hear what people would choose.
If you only had one, what would
that
it be?
That'd be awesome.
But back to the movie.
Yeah. So you kind of at turns feel you feel unsettled, but at turns you feel kind of cozy, and it's a combination that effectively keeps us and the characters off balance in the best way. Well, at least for us, it's the best way, not for them.
Yeah.
But in the hands of lesser actors, this could have been a painful watch.
Sure.
I think.
That's fair to say. Any scenario where you have people who are stuck in one location, I think the acting really is what carries the film.
Right, because a cornerstone of any good acting is believability. Do I believe them or not? Yeah. And you and I have watched a lot of movies doing this, and over 50, and there are. It's not common. It's not typical, but there are stretches where I don't buy it.
Sure. Yeah.
And
It's rare to come by in Hollywood nowadays, but
yeah, but every now and again it does happen. And for this one, man, I was buying the whole time.
me and you both.
From all three characters. I was really quite impressed. Were there certain aspects that strain credulity? Well, of course. And I won't list them, and there's no need. But this was a fun ride. The ending, well, obviously I'm not going to tell you what it is if I'm trying not to spoil things, but I will just say this. For many people, this was a split in the road. This is, after all, a Cloverfield movie production. J.J. Abrams, Bad Robot. But it didn't start out as a Cloverfield movie. So if you either didn't see the movie Cloverfield, or you don't remember it, I don't know, but it might not give you a clue as to where this movie was going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I guess we both probably had different experiences because you hadn't seen Cloverfield
Not the
in
whole
its
thing.
entirety,
Right. I got motion sick, and I couldn't watch the whole thing.
which is fair because it's a handheld kind of jumble.
Oh, my Lord.
It's a found footage kind of film.
Yep.
But I had. So going into this, I already had a ton of context, and it gives you a different experience because the whole time I'm going, well, I think I know what's going on outside and why they can't go out there, but the
right.
air being, that's weird because I don't remember that.
And see, I didn't. So I didn't
I knew it was aliens.
once, and I didn't. But
Interesting.
once, and you just gave something away before we went into spoilers. But
Sure,
that's okay.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You did give the
That's
warning
okay.
earlier.
I did give a warning. You're
So
right.
we're
You're
safe.
right. Because once I saw the alien, I was like, oh my God, of course it's J.J. Abrams. I'm like, and it's,
Yeah.
But I wasn't. Put it this way: when she got up above board and realized in her silly little suit that the air was okay, I thought, okay. That I would have been okay with, maybe something more happening, but just that she survived that. But then
wouldn't you have had the questions of coming back to his intentions and was he really being truthful the entire time?
well, now we know. Well, first of all, we can question his intentions anyway because clearly there was a young woman there before her,
Right.
and before Emmett, who probably ended up in the vat of acid.
Yeah.
And so we know his intentions were not pure, shall we say, or kind. They were really severely twisted. This is a guy who could use a puppy, a friend, really severe therapy, and perhaps to be institutionalized. But
Creepy as hell. like you
exactly,
said.
creepy as hell, and smart, which is a lethal and frightening combination in his case.
Again, maybe I don't want to, very socially awkward, very hard to, he can't communicate well.
Yep, true.
And so it's hard to read somebody like that, which again, that comes back to his acting. I mean, John Goodman's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he
Because
really
the whole
was.
time you're like, I don't know what
Yeah,
this guy
exactly.
is. Like, I can't get a
Exactly.
read on him.
Yep.
Which makes it all that more interesting because
Yeah.
it's kind of like a thriller mystery, if you will. We're trying to
For
figure
sure.
out what's going on.
That's right.
Is he telling the truth? Is there really something outside? How do we get,
Mm-hmm.
So I think to your point and what you said, I really love the pacing of this film.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
that's the thing for me that stands out the most, outside from the performances, is the pacing. Because the way it begins, there's some abrupt, we'll get into the spoilers later, but there's a moment later on towards the latter end of the film that happens that I didn't see coming at all. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It just keeps you on your toes. It's a thriller.
Yeah,
It's a
it
thriller in the
is.
truest way.
Yeah, it really is.
And it does the job. And again, I love Dan Trachtenberg. I want to see more. He did the Hulu film Prey.
oh, I haven't seen that.
It's I don't want to say a spin-off of the Predator franchise.
Okay.
Really well
Okay.
done. Really
Right on.
well received. This was really well received as well. And I think that guy's got a future. I also love the Black Mirror episode, that he did. Have you seen all of Black Mirror?
I've just started this is season 5.
Do you remember?
I'm on the first episode.
Do you remember season 4? I think it might be episode 2. It's called Playtest. It's where the guy that was in Thunderbolts goes to play the video game.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets put in the...
Yeah.
Dan Trachtenberg.
Okay, go Dan. Well done. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we'll see more.
How'd the ending work for you?
Are we spoiler territory now? Or
I think I'll just give it one more warning. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the ending
film.
here.
Because I knew that Cloverfield,
So
I
then
knew
it
the
did
story.
work for
It made
you.
all of it made sense to me.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
was fine with. It's a little bit. Some of it was a little far fetched, like her throwing the Molotov cocktail down the throat of that thing and surviving the.
Yeah, and all of a sudden she's badass.
And the fact that that like green smoke, if I don't know what else you want to call it, that it is the stuff you can't breathe in. It goes by her, and then like she gets in the fight with that thing, and it gets ripped off.
Yeah,
and yet she's still fine. So there was a couple of things that I had to like. Okay,
that's what I was referring to, the suspension of disbelief earlier.
Right, because the movie to me was so well done. I loved this movie when it came out. I still enjoyed it a ton when I watched it last night, and I think when I have that kind of feeling about a movie, I'm able to let go of a couple of things.
For me too.
And
I absolutely let
it's
go
no
of those
sweat off my
things.
back.
Yeah, for me too. I felt the exact same way because certain things, just really stretched.
So you enjoyed the movie?
I did enjoy it
because you said to me that the notes were a little tough for this one. What?
Well, in the context of what the theme of our show is.
Okay. Because I read it as, when you were talking to me about it, texting me about it, I read it as like, ooh, maybe he didn't like the movie.
No. I enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
But
how did you feel about the ending?
Just like the questions I had during the entire movie, yes and no. Because I didn't know it was going to be aliens. I genuinely didn't know what was going to be outside. And I'm glad I saw it that way, because if I had seen it knowing this is a Cloverfield and there are going to be aliens, I would have looked at the entire movie differently, because I would have known John Goodman, Howard, is telling the truth.
Yeah.
Something really messed up happened out there.
Oh, true. That is true.
I didn't know. I didn't know if he was telling the truth or not. And so, particularly when there's a scene, we're just going fully into spoiler territory here, y'all. There's a scene where, what's her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, Michelle, goes up to this plexiglass window to see outside. And that's where she finds help scratched into the plexiglass
from the inside.
Yeah. So this wasn't his first rodeo of having someone down in the bunker.
And he keeps making reference
to his daughter. And then we discover from Emmett seeing a picture of the woman who was supposedly the daughter. It wasn't the daughter.
Yeah.
It was somebody else. Uh-oh. So he's been
not
keeping
not
the first time he's had a young woman down in the bunker with him.
And early on we learn, and this is what was so good about the script, is that early on we see when he shows her the outside, we see his car.
Right.
And she remembers that
right.
car
ran her
into
off the road.
Ran her off the road.
That's right.
So then we're going, oh my God, this guy's holding her captive.
But then his confession about why he ran her off the road, and it made sense, and he was
genuine,
and he was genuine, and he didn't know she remembered the accident.
It keeps you. You're right. We talked about it, and we're beating a dead horse here, but it just keeps you guessing. It's a thriller in the truest sense.
So to not know there were aliens and that was the issue, I'm glad that I had no idea until, again, once I saw them. It's like, of course. But then how that was executed, and it was just, and it was like, straight ahead for safety and left if you want to kick ass. And, she took a left, and I get that. I get that.
It's a really interesting sequel.
Yeah, it is.
Which
wasn't intended to be a sequel.
Right.
Yeah.
Because besides the last, 15 minutes of the film, you'd have no idea it has anything to do with Cloverfield, the first movie.
True.
So it's
I loved.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways that you could have gone with it. This is a very interesting way to do it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
So, it kind of lends perfectly into, shall we see if our stars align on this one?
Let's do it. Let's see.
Ryan and I give a letterboxed rating of every movie that we watch. And this is no exception.
And we're going to see if our stars align here.
So, let me guess yours.
Okay.
You gave it 4.
I did.
Okay.
I'm betting you gave it 3.5.
You are correct.
We know each other, man. We just know each other now at this point, I think, that we can guess that.
Yeah,
but
right on.
okay, so our stars didn't align, but only slightly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, I think we both really enjoyed it a lot. I have a lot of respect.
What's the theory behind the 3.5 instead of the 4? What took that half a star for you?
Those things that we overlooked because we liked it.
Okay.
But
that's fair.
also the ending to me was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a harsh sound, I think, but the ending kind of bummed me out.
It fell flat a little bit. That's
fair.
And that's fine.
And how the whole thing of the aliens was executed, I didn't dig it.
Okay.
And her throwing the Molotov cocktail down its throat, killing it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like all of a sudden she's like, Die Hard.
Yeah. That's all
Um,
fair points.
Yeah, all we needed then was for her to get into like hand-to-hand combat and kick some
start-
ass,
Start
like-
fist fighting the alien.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So I was kind of what it felt like was they almost wrote themselves into a corner. It's like, how are we going to get out of
how
this
we
one?
gonna end this? How are we gonna land
That's
this
how
bird?
that's how it felt. And to me, that cost them 1.5 stars in my book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very fair.
What kept that from being a 5-star movie for you?
The things we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a 5-star. I haven't yet. Now, I will say I've historically been on IMDb, so I have 10-star movies on there.
Okay.
But since we've switched over to Letterboxd, I have not yet given more than 4 stars. This would be the highest rated that I've done so far for us. I think to get a 5, it's got to be like a perfect film.
For me too.
4.5 would be like
Exactly.
pretty much there. And
Exactly.
then 5 is like, this is one of the greatest movies that's ever been
Yeah.
made.
Agreed.
So I think, this is
Fair
a
enough.
solid film.
Yeah.
The elements are great. The performances are good. The script is really, really good. Couple points
Yeah.
off for a couple of things you got to overlook.
Yeah, exactly. I totally get it. So let me throw out some fun facts
I want to know about the
about 10 Cloverfield Lane. Well, the first one. So John Goodman, who plays Howard, deliberately kept his distance from co-stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Gallagher Jr. during filming to maintain the tension and unease on set.
love that.
I love that too. Well, Mr. Goodman, from my perspective, it worked.
Yeah, I concur. That's 2 people that can say.
So
we agree.
Yeah. So
I love those little small changes that people make.
yeah.
To not, and I think sometimes a director will ask of that as too, as in like,
True.
I think on the It movies they kept Pennywise away until the kids see him for the first time
Okay.
to give that real
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
It's like the this isn't the same thing, but we just talked about the Hateful Eight with smashing the guitar.
Right.
You get a genuine reaction, a genuine response.
Right. Saving Private Ryan, I believe. So the guys went through boot camp together. I believe they kept Matt Damon out on purpose so that the other guys really gel. And then when
Sometimes
they
just-
find Private Ryan, he's just not quite part of the group, and they're a little pissed off
Sure.
that they
And
lost good men trying to save this guy's life, and
And
they
the
don't
ki-
even know him.
it comes through.
Yeah,
So those small decisions can really go a
Exactly.
long way.
exactly.
So kudos,
Exactly.
Mr. Goodman.
Exactly.
I
that
don't
was,
expect anything less from you.
how could you? The guy just keeps getting better,
Just
too.
delivers.
The second one. Second fun fact, the movie was shot in 38 days and mostly on one set, which added to the claustrophobic and intense atmosphere that Ryan and I have been talking about. And it sounds like poolside drinks were what the doctor ordered after that shoot.
Yeah, you gotta you earned it.
Yeah,
after
for sure,
something like
for
that.
sure.
Being in that,
38 days in a real bunker, that would be challenging.
that's a decision too.
Yeah,
Of let's
it
keep
is.
everybody tight knit.
It
Let's add to the like you said, claustrophobic feel.
Yeah,
The isolation.
exactly. So we can dig in a little bit deeper now. We've already given a
Yes.
spoiler alert. So Ryan,
Love
to I've already asked you what you think of this film, so let's just jump into a theme that I thought kind of jumped out, and that was standing up to people, standing up for ourselves. Because Michelle woke up, and granted, if you wake up in that kind of a situation where you're bound to something, you're like tied up, you're going to have like probably a caged animal kind of reaction. I just love how her character was she just had single-minded focus. And I loved, there was a comment that Howard made when Michelle came to, and he told her that he pulled her from the wreckage, and he wanted her, of course, to be more grateful because he was, twisted. But he told her that she was in shock. And right when he said it, I thought, bullshit.
Ooh.
Because I thought how she doesn't look like a person who would be like, and freak out and go into shock. She looks to me like someone who would take a left and head to Houston, which is what she did. She looks like, to me, she was like someone who would be a police woman or a firewoman or somebody who could handle emergency situations. Because she really kept her wits about her.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
that's a good read.
Thanks, man. And that's what that's what it had me wondering the whole time. I kept putting myself in her shoes. And at times I just thought, can't you just relax and do the crossword puzzle and maybe enjoy a week or so? But no, you can't, also because of John Goodman's Howard. He wouldn't let you relax. He wouldn't let you, but I just loved how much she stood up for herself. I just love that.
That's a great theme to pick. I think that shines through here. Even like that's how we end it, right?
Yep.
I mean, even the way it begins, it's like she's taking back control.
Yes.
Of her life.
That's right.
And she's not going to end up, in a situation she doesn't want to be in. I mean, the guy on the phone, her fiance, or now maybe ex-fiance,
Ben was his name.
Is saying like, come on. Don't be ridiculous.
Exactly. By the way, that was going to be one of my fun facts. Ben, who is Michelle's boyfriend, fiance, she did leave a ring behind. So I didn't know if he was her husband or whatever. But that was the voice of Bradley Cooper.
I thought that, and I was like, how the hell did they get Bradley Cooper
J.J.
to
Abrams texted him. They didn't even talk. I think they did it by text. Hey, would you do this? And Bradley Cooper's like, hell yeah.
I thought that was his, but I thought I was crazy. I thought there's no way they got Bradley Cooper to do this.
He did.
I got to remember the time this came out too. He wasn't who he is now.
16, true. So, but I thought that was pretty cool. But I just,
she does. She stands up for herself, and she always stays committed to her mission.
She really does.
Survival.
Yeah, and even when Howard was being kind of nice or just trying to get her to be like, hey, come on, it's okay.
I really loved, like, Emmett's character was so essential because we had the contrast.
Good point.
Because when she first comes to him, when they first, like, meet each other, he's bought it.
Yeah.
He's bought into all this. He's like, he is fully trusting in what Howard is saying.
True.
Like, he has bought it all. And he's like, no, what are you talking about? What do you mean? We can't go outside because of the air, because Howard said so. She's the one who's skeptical the whole way.
That's right. That's a very good point.
Shit ain't right.
That's a very good point. Because you get to see that Emmett's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, and that's where she's opening his eyes. Like, oh, I think he just, having watched Howard, having been familiar with Howard for how many years, maybe being a neighbor and watching him build the bunker and just having this intrinsic faith in him, not seeing that this guy's really not all there, and not, and dangerous.
Yeah.
And because he arrived of his own volition, it's such a different situation for him than it is for Michelle, who was basically kidnapped. Run off the road intentionally, injured. And although he made it sound like he did not mean to hit her, when he did explain to her what happened, It sounded like he generally was just in a hurry to get to his bunker.
And things happen.
But he probably thought, I've hit pay dirt. Look who I hit. Woohoo.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Because he was looking probably for a replacement anyway for the last one that he put in the vat of acid.
that he boiled.
So, So I'm wondering for you, Ryan, have you ever found yourself, in the course of your days on this planet, have you ever found a situation where you really had to stand up to someone who either intimidated you, someone that you really respected, and to take a stand that for you was challenging?
That's a good question.
And sometimes, it's hard because if you really respect someone and you know you're going to make a stand, that's painful.
Sure.
It can be.
I think I have a tendency as a person to, and I figured this out in my teens, that I have a tendency to be walked on. Because I'm a people pleaser, and I'm a yes man. I'll just go with the flow. I don't want to upset anyone. And so it was in my teens I figured that out, and I discovered probably late teens, early 20s where I was like, I can't allow people to do that to me. And so there was I could think of a couple of occasions, but one point in particular, there was a disagreement with a roommate of mine, a friend of mine, back in college, back in my college days, last year.
Okay.
And then, I had to suck up all my, I don't want to say pride's not the right word, but what was holding me back from confronting this person and saying, you can't treat me this way. But I had to do it. I had to stand up for myself. I had to stick up for myself. And I think it's because I knew in my mind, you're falling down the same trap again.
Good for you.
This person has taken advantage of how kind and forgiving that you are. You have to be stern and look them in the eyes and tell them that you're serious about it. And then, it never happened again. After I confronted him, it never happened again.
Good for you.
So sometimes you do have to just stand up for yourself.
Yeah. And well done for you for doing that too.
Thanks,
because I know that can be terrifying. And a scene in the movie that really to me brought this out was the scene in which Michelle lifts Howard's keys from his belt. It's said so much because she didn't have a plan for what to do next. I just got to get those keys.
Yeah.
And then she got them.
Now what?
Damn. Oh, I'll crack this bottle over your head.
Yeah.
But she really didn't have a plan. And there was something about that I loved because it felt so realistic in a sense. I mean, granted, you're in a bunker and you could be potentially there for a year. It would give you time to really think out a plan. But I love the fact that, and that's part of how this movie was paced so well. She comes up with an idea, she executes.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of going back and forth in your head about, well, what about the...
Exactly. No, it's just
I need those
done.
keys and I need them now.
Exactly.
So what can I do to get
exactly.
them? Yeah, exactly. What about you though? Is there times in your life that you've had to do that? All 12 years you've been on Earth?
12 times 4 times 3. Mostly my standing up has been just kind of saying no to things.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It wasn't necessarily a person. Will I tell you this? It brought up I'll try to, there's something happened to me when I was 12 years old that I had forgotten about. And I am so lucky it didn't go the way it could have. And I also think, how the hell did my parents let this happen? And it was just a different, day and age.
Okay.
I'd gone to a soccer camp the summer before with a good friend of mine at UC Santa Cruz. And we met one of these coaches. And I can't even tell the whole story, man. I haven't thought about it in so many years. But he just did stuff that was creepy and wrong. And fast forward some time, and he asked that Greg and I come stay with him in San Francisco. And I thought Greg's parents said yes. And I told my parents, and they're like, okay. This guy comes to pick me up on like a Saturday morning at 9:00. And he drives me up to the city. And I got the worst feeling from like all of a sudden I felt like I'm in trouble.
Ooh.
There are no cell phones yet. And
Right.
the plan is that my dad is going to come pick me up at a soccer game on Sunday. So it's more than 24 hours.
So you're staying with this guy overnight?
Oh, man, I hadn't thought about this in so many years.
Wow,
I
okay.
just like even telling you this right now because I didn't verbalize it. I just remembered. It's like,
Sure.
oh my God. I remember the guy's name too, which I won't say, but he's probably in prison. But
Oh,
anyway,
God.
yeah. Just on the drive up there, he was asked like, "What'd you do this summer?" And I said I went to Fort Point, one day with my parents, my family. And he starts talking about it being a nudist beach. Is that why you went, Joey? He's calling me Joey. Is that why you went? Because it's a nudist beach?
Yeah.
I'm a 12, 13-year-old. I'm like, what? What?
What are you talking about?
And it was the
Yeah.
slowest 24 hours of my life. And I've never been so happy to see my dad.
I bet, man.
And that guy was really weird with my dad. My dad was just like my dad finally got it. Like, you're a freaking creep.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell us that my friend's parents said, hell no. I think he lied and said that my friend was going to be there.
Wow.
And
So you didn't even have your friend to
No.
like,
No, it's just me.
we're going through
alone
this together,
with this
man.
guy
This is
at his
weird.
apartment for 24 hours.
Oh,
It was
jeez.
horrific, and nothing happened. But it's
Thank
making
God
me
nothing
sweat
happened, man.
just recounting that. That was
Yeah, that's
I-
I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sorry that happened to you.
I thought of, was I ever like in a situation where I felt imprisoned? And that was
interesting.
that's what made me remember this story
Sure.
that I hadn't thought about in
Totally.
40 years.
Absolutely. Anybody would feel imprisoned and uncomfortable. And that's
It made me break out in a sweat, man.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us. Sorry that happened to you, man.
Well,
That's-
I'm sorry that
it's terrible.
I appreciate what you're saying, and it didn't. What could have happened didn't.
Thankfully, thank God. Yeah.
But he had all the hallmarks of being that guy.
Wow.
So how about if we just switch gears entirely here, and I'm going to give a recommendation of 5 movies if you to see if you liked Cloverfield 10 or if you 10 Cloverfield Lane, or if you want to see it. The first one is Misery from 1990. Freaking amazing, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates, and it's directed by Rob Reiner. I still can't believe that. And it's about a famous writer rescued from a car crash and cared for by a woman who turns out to be quite fucking insane and sadistic. And Kathy Bates won an Academy Award for this. You can rent that on Prime Video. Yes.
Is that
yes, Ryan?
a Stephen King?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah. It's amazing.
He's good at that.
He's so good at that. The next one is Coherence, starring Emily Baldoni and Maury Sterling. As stated on IMDb, it is, quote, strange things begin to happen when a group of friends gather for a dinner party on an evening when a comet is passing overhead. So it also takes place mostly in one room. You can see that on Video Prime. Prime Video, excuse
my
me.
friend, that's a great pull because that's like an indie. That's an indie of an indie. I mean, that's like
Totally.
shot on like 10 grand with like 5 friends.
And it's got great reviews, too.
I love that movie.
Okay.
I've seen it several times.
Oh, wow.
It's a really good example of what you can do with a low budget
Okay. And one location.
and one location.
So it kind of fits this, doesn't it? I guess.
It's
you know?
very, great
on.
rec. Great
Thanks,
rec.
man. Green Room, starring Anton Yelchin, taken far too soon, and Imogen Poots. It's about a punk band that witnesses the murder of a neo-Nazi and has to then fight for their lives. It's tense, violent, and claustrophobic because, well, it's everything you could want in that kind of a film.
Also a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a good horror film.
Thanks, man. Next one is Buried, starring Ryan Reynolds, who's buried in a coffin for 90 minutes of this movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Hard pass for me, but, if that's your jam, you can find that on Prime Video.
Sure.
And the last recommendation, boy, this one had me sweating. 127 Hours,
Oof.
starring James Franco. This is a true story of a mountain climber who gets trapped physically in the middle of nowhere, Utah. And it's intense. And if you wish to, you can stream that on Hulu.
Woof.
So on behalf of Brian and myself, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, as always, you're the main character of your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
They sure are, Joe.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.